Let me just say this out of the gate. Pixar is incredible. Not only do they make films that are infinitely rewatchable, but they deliver on character and emotion unlike anyone else out there. Today I want to talk about what I think makes Pixar so great. In my opinion, the film medium in general is a culmination of everything great with entertainment. It takes everything from music, to writing, to acting, to cinematography to create something that transfixes us and transports us. And when it's done right, the film medium transcends the word film. But I want to talk about what is arguably the most important part of film, the visuals. Simply put, it's what you notice. Good sound and sound design should support the visuals. Good music should help guide the emotion and pacing. But the visuals, it's the technical aspect that you notice most. This is why I want to talk about Pixar's visual storytelling and how they do it best. Now, a rule of thumb for film is show, don't tell. And Pixar, they don't just show you, they show you more. These are visual moments that tell you much more than a line of dialogue ever could. There's clear examples like the first minutes of Up, which is rightly glorified for telling a beautiful story that could have been that movie's entire plot. Or even this single shot of Bob in The Incredibles sitting in his car. This shot tells you everything you need to know about Bob's insufferable life, and his despondence towards it. But I feel no Pixar film in their arsenal comes close to their magnum opus, WALL-E. Why is WALL-E more creative in its visual storytelling, and why does it show, not tell? Pretty much because it's forced to. WALL-E and Eva go the entire film only stating two words. Their names?
WALL-E. WALL-E.
And
Directive?
The filmmakers are forced to show us every emotion through interactions and expressions alone. You gotta appreciate how difficult this is. You gotta consider as well that neither of them even have a mouth. But somehow, Andrew Stanton and the Pixar team pulls it off. Not only do they pull it off, but they pull off my favorite love story ever put to film. I'm gonna focus on how they show us the world and how WALL-E and Eve's characters are built through visuals. Everything from the characters and the traits is shown, not told. And it never shows you anything that doesn't build up to a beat later on the story or gives you more context for the story. So let's take a look on how they present the world the story takes place in. We see a long shot of the earth cluttered in junk, no color and unpretty. We work our way inward to see the whole world is literally garbage. But more importantly, there isn't a soul to be seen until we see WALL-E. We see him strolling along, playing a song, mind you, and then we get to see his purpose and why he's been left on this planet, to clean up. We see WALL-E completing his job and then stops quickly to rip a trash can out of the garbage. At this moment, we already know that this robot is different. He's playing music for himself as he strolls along, and he's grabbing stuff from the garbage for himself. And then we see the sun go down low, and we see WALL-E grabbing his lunch pail to go home. This lunch pail is key. This visual indicator is associated with everyday life. His day job is now done, and it's time for him to go home. Like I said, this isn't a normal robot. A normal robot wouldn't even go home, they would just complete their task. But when we see him on his commute home, and stopping for repairs on the way, not only do we see important things like how WALL-E was able to keep going when everyone else has died, but we also see that everyone else is gone. This world is bare. We would normally assume he'd be one of many of these robots cleaning up the world, but seeing them laying on the side of the road, shut down as replacement parts, we know WALL-E is alone. We see WALL-E going into his home, and we see an important character trait. We see his collection, what he's been doing for all these years. But more importantly, we see he takes care of everything, and everything is carefully placed. And then he does this, which tells you just so much. He takes off his shoes, or tracks I should say. This shows you his pride and his love for his home. He keeps it just right. He pops in his favorite movie, and again we see that trash can lid in his way of crafting a hat. Not only is this cute and funny, but it instantly shows the importance of the movie to him. It's not like one of these things sitting up on his wall. He wants to be like these people. He wants to have what they have. He wants to be loved. We're only 8 minutes into the movie, and we already have an established location with characters, with quirks and traits, and wants, all through the visual storytelling. And then you get a shot that brings it all home. Wall-E isn't content where he's living. All these collections and the movies he's watching, he's not content with them. He collects them because he craves something else, an adventure, love, something out there. And then this shot, I believe, tells you everything you need to know about Wall-E, and I'll let it speak for itself. If you look at other movies trying to build a world, there's a couple ways. Through text like Hunger Games, or news articles like Fantastic Beasts. Both are lazy and boring. Wall-E is within those films that let you explore and make the conclusion for yourself. Let's skip ahead till we meet the next most important character, Eve. She's placed down, and even by the character design, we know she is new and shiny. She sits there and starts scanning, but what happens next is very important. When she thinks she's alone, she stretches and flies around freely. Before this moment, we saw a robot without personality, doing their job, but then we see this and there's a glimmer of what's to come for her. This robot has a fun, wild side, but after she stretches and flies, she goes back to the task at hand, scanning. We see that scan of 3 dots followed by a 4th red one. We know she's looking for something, but we don't know what it is. But on top of that, these scenes serve 2 purposes. It moves Eve's story along and gives you almost a montage aspect of her searching, but it also cements Wall-E's infatuation with Eve. We finally see Eve interact with Wall-E when there's a sandstorm and she's forced to enter his house. This is the first time she's having fun, and we see her see him in a different light, and then the plot takes off. These first 30 minutes sets up the rest of the movie. The groundwork is laid, every payoff derives from these visual moments that were told to you. Now, I'm not going to pick out the whole movie scene by scene and tell you why it's great, but I will focus on one scene in the movie and why the visuals laid out actually come back to mean so much more. So at the end of the movie, Wall-E is rebooted with a new hard drive and loses his personality. Now, a similar situation has been done in other movies, but not as well in my opinion. Normally it shows the character not recognizing other characters, but as I said, in Wall-E everything comes back for a purpose. His character traits and personality is rooted in these items around his house. So when Wall-E changes, not only does he not recognize these characters, but he takes what we've established means the world to him and rips it apart. He refuses to hold Eve's hand. He grabs his collection, which mind you is his pride and joy in life, and crunches it as if it's trash. He steps on his cockroach best friend and doesn't even flinch. He's a different person completely. But for me, what hits home the most isn't what he's damaging or breaking, it's what Wall-E isn't doing. Look at his face, or should I say his eyes. Wall-E's eyes are one of the reasons why we love him so much. His reactions to things and his emoting eyes give him so much personality. So when they stay dormant, you feel it. He just isn't there anymore. So when this happens, and his eyes physically come into the light, your heart drops. His eyes with that slight movement turn back into those eyes we love, and we instantly know he's himself again.
And that is all that love's about.
It's this type of visual storytelling and repurposing things from earlier in the movie is what makes me love Pixar so much. So what do you guys think of Wall-E? Do you think it's a masterpiece like I do? Thank you so much to my Patreons, Adam Gray, Jeremy Jacob, Jenny Edwards, Jeremy Robson, Gabe Marchanda, Trevor Cowan, and Gunnar Langland. I really appreciate your support, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.